And we are live. So today we are looking at Unit 2, Activity 5, specifically assignments 1 and 2, the occupation of interest, and also the gap analysis. So the point of this is to review some of the key concepts about the course, including the job profile and the importance of the job profile and the different components of the job profile that you are going to use to be able to complete your gap analysis and tie it to other concepts within the course. So one of the most important skills for this course and the key skills was to bookmark that job profile so you could revisit it and to familiarize yourself with a few more of the tabs. So in Unit 1, we looked at the Skills tab, and at the heart of this gap analysis and the occupation of interest activity was to make sure that you knew exactly where to find and how to describe the most important skills involved. But the new pieces on this was how this occupation relates to your personal profile. So these are the quizzes that you took. So the personal profile that you folks would have done looks like this, which is the one that contains your abilities, your strengths, your work values, and your personal values. And we're going to focus specifically on abilities and these strengths here as well, because that's where you start to fill in the gap. And the way that you fill in the gap are to use examples or strategies from the Cloud Gear Learning site. So for instance, I'm going to focus specifically on organization. Organization is the skill that I have to improve upon so I can ensure that I become a better bicycle mechanic, which is my job profile that I bookmarked. So I've given you a bit more information there fairly quickly, but the key piece or the key few pieces to the gap analysis are knowing that you need to go to your job profile and refer specifically to it. You need to go to your personal profile, which helps you identify your abilities and those top abilities. And also to pull some strategies to close your gap, specifically on a skill that you focus on in the gap analysis by using a strategy from Cloud Gear Learning. And shortly, I'm going to show you how exactly to plan that and to tie that all together. So a study tip that I give to students in my classes is to first come up with organizing your thoughts. So organize those thoughts first instead of jumping right into the writing process. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So looking again at the gap analysis, I see that the gap analysis asks me to identify some specific pieces of information and describe those further. So in my gap analysis, I know that I need to focus upon the skills I need to develop. And these skills are referred specifically in my job profile. So instead of focusing on a whole bunch of job duties and job skills, I planned to focus on a couple very specific ones. I'm now going to show you what that looks like. So I've taken some information specifically from the activity and assignment 2, and I have put that on a document where I'm going to start organizing my thoughts for the gap analysis itself. Firstly, my learning style. This is from the personal profile, is a learning style of doing. of doing. Now, a couple of you online here, Katie and Scott, you did this very effectively, where you referred back specifically to your job description and specifically back to essential skills from that job description, which I know for you, Scott, specifically, that was a bit more challenging because it didn't have specific essential skills listed on your botanist job profile. So you had to expand that a bit, and you did that very effectively. So here's the skill that I focused on. Here's the skill that I focused on was self-regulation and organization. Self-regulation and organization. And I know that there were some strategies from Cloud Gear Learning that I could focus on and use to help me better improve upon self-regulation and organization, because those are skills that I have to practice every single day. They don't just come naturally to me, and I will probably never be perfect at it, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm constantly trying to close that gap, but I know that I have tools that help me do that. So now I have to find a way. Now I have to find a way to connect some common tasks or skills from my job profile to this strategy. So first, I know that I learn best by doing. I learn best by doing. The gap analysis asks you to find a common task, and you can find this from the job profile description. The job profile description. As a quick review, I started with a skill, a learning skill that I knew I needed to improve upon. And now I've moved on to looking at a common task from the job. Here's a tab we have not looked at yet. It is under description. Description. And if I go down to under description, there are common job duties here that tell me the tasks I might perform at this job. There are certain skills that you need to be able to complete those tasks. And this is where I can start to be specific about how my improvement in organization is going to help me improve upon the skills I need for this job. I can start to close the gap. So now I'm going to go to skills, and you don't need to be doing this as I go. You can watch this video afterwards and follow along after. So I'm going to go down to below skills and knowledge, because the activity asks for specifically two essential skills. And I'm going to go down to here and try to see if there are any activities or essential skills under the 9 essential skills here that have something to do with organization. So if I look under writing, if I look under reading, perhaps, so far, nothing in here, but I know that I'm looking at some problem solving. So I see that I have a task here that might have something to do with organization. So this is a service schedule. A service schedule is something that I'm going to have to follow. So in this service schedule, the good thing about that is a service schedule looks a lot like a checklist. So what I can do now is I can start to talk about problem solving and how this gap and solving that gap will help me be a better problem solver at my job. So I'm now going to put this down here under problem solving. And I can say that under problem solving, using a checklist or following a schedule and a priority list specifically will help me solve backlogs or delays. That's one way that I can connect the work that I'm doing on organization with a skill from the essential skills in the job profile. So as a review, I have shown how my learning style matches the job description from the job profile. Step 2, I identified a specific skill that I have a gap in, which is organization. Thirdly, I looked at an essential skill and how filling that gap or closing that gap is going to help me be successful at the job using an essential skill from the job profile. So you can now see how all the work that you did and the information you built in Unit 2 leads to your success in the final gap analysis. My job after this is to change this into a very short paragraph, which I've already seen. Scott and Katie, you did a very effective job of creating a summary in the paragraph of 2 short paragraphs explaining a gap analysis well.